With the latest Fortnite update, we got a ton of info and teasers for the upcoming mini-season. It's the biggest summer event in the game's entire history. And it's not just about new sprites, map changes, and new characters. It's also loaded with references to the upcoming seasons. First things first, we got a throw on Bruce's swim trunks with the new bat skin so we can drop onto this island. Because that's where you'll find the beach Batmobile, which shows up marked on the map just like the DeLorean from Back to the Future used to. And the cool thing about it is that when you jump from up high, you can pop open these wings and glide across the sky. You can also use it to go visit Batman, who's hanging out super close to the Batcave, which we'll check out in a sec. But the interesting part is that this character sells you his grappling hook, the same one that dropped way back in Chapter 1. And these items are going to come in clutch for knocking out all the summer quests, where we've got a bunch of free rewards on the table. And in those rewards, you'll also find the Batman sprite, though don't stress about it because you'll be able to grab this one a bunch of other ways too. In fact, right here in this image, you can see all the variants it's going to have available starting today. And honestly, the best part isn't even the design, it's the ability, because it lets you deploy the Batcape the same way you use the grappling hook. On top of that, you'll be able to find rare sprites and chests way more often during your Battle Royale matches. But the Batman sprite isn't the only new addition in this patch, because we've also got the Vinicius Jr. sprite, which gives you a destructive slide when you sprint at max speed. So I'm assuming you can bust through walls and stuff like that. And get this, if you kick an enemy, your fire rate and reload speed both go up. After that, we've got the air sprite, which I was already calling one of the best. And now that I've gotten to test it, yeah, it lives up to the hype. It boosts your speed and jump height, and it even cancels out fall damage. And the fourth and final one is the Foundation sprite, which tags your enemy's footsteps. And there's even more going on with this Bat Summer event, because now we've got a new storm zone shaped like a bat. And Bruce Wayne didn't come alone. He brought his friends and rivals along to the island. If you talk to Batman, he makes it clear that he's only on the island to visit while he's on vacation. So I'm guessing he won't play any role in the storyline. But even though he says he's on vacation, he still brought the Batcave with him. And that's a seriously cool spot with the Batman logo on it. The most interesting stuff in there is that it's got cameras all over the map, so it's basically watching you at all times. Plus, the Joker had his own prison down here. And the last cool thing I spotted was the surfboards, since Bruce Wayne apparently rolled up to the island to catch some waves. And while we're looking at the map, let me also show you the Sloan Collider, which isn't finished yet, but they're chipping away at it every patch. After that, we've got some smaller changes, like the Cluster Yacht, which is now parked somewhere else. And finally, the zone that used to belong to the Squids last season had emptied out after the final event, and now it's got water in it again. The map changes obviously aren't the highlight, since this update is all about Batman, but he didn't show up as the only skin, because we've also got his sidekick, plus 3 other awesome characters you can already grab in the shop today. And I'd seriously appreciate it if you buy them with my creator code, since that's the best way to support the channel. And these 3 girls are in the same boat as Batman, since they're actually out on the island. He's an NPC you can find pretty easily, but they show up randomly around the map. And if you track them down, you can challenge them, and any one of them will hand you a mythic weapon. Another interesting map change you can spot is over in Battlewood, where there's a whole mural dedicated to Spider-Man. And yeah guys, this is your official confirmation that he's coming to Fortnite. We all know how tight Marvel is with Fortnite, so everybody was expecting this collab. And in this patch, the leakers already managed to spot a file that confirms 100% we're getting the brand new day version, most likely for the next update. And remember, he wasn't coming alone, because in theory, he'll be joined by a Punisher. And we're not just getting characters. The Spider-Man sprite is coming too. And the last leak tied to this collab is the return of the web shooters. And if all this content still wasn't enough, we've got the new bus escape mechanic. I already told you at the start of the season, this looked like it wanted to drop on day 1, since the trailer you're watching right now went up literally within hours of the season launching. And that right there represents the new mechanic we'll get halfway through a match, because in any game we play, a Rift Mania can pop up, and the goal is to find the bus and hop on board to win the match. So whenever you spot this emoji, you gotta book it over there so you're one of the ones on the bus, and that's how you score the masterful victory. And now that we've covered all the new stuff and the Batman collab, let's talk about the other collabs coming up soon. First collab skin that got confirmed is Beckham, since he announced it himself, and we'd get both his suit version and his version playing for the English national team. Another more encrypted collab would be Phantom Blade Zero, which even though Epic confirmed it, right now, we don't know how it's gonna look in the game. And for the rest of the new stuff, as far as skins go, we gotta head to the pass, since Sloan now has a 7 style, and you unlock it by completing certain story quests. You can also spot this character on this loading screen right here, and it's not the only new one. We've got this other one too, obviously a story reference where you can clearly see a Hope in a 7 suit, who's obviously gonna drop as a skin down the line. And after Season 4, we already got some clues that Epic is cooking up a Marvel mini-season to close out Chapter 7. Word is this thing is running under the codename Nolly Snap, and it'll roll in with the V43 update. And now buckle up, because judging by the timing, this whole thing is gonna be tied directly to the new Avengers Doomsday movie, which doesn't even drop until December. And if you think this is just some random collab for a few skins, I hate to break it to you. It goes way deeper than that. Let's start with the juiciest part. If a Marvel mini-season actually happens, then the face of it is almost 100% gonna be an old familiar mug, Dr. Doom. And this isn't me reading tea leaves. The dude already stomped around our island back in Chapter 5 during the absolute Doom season, so bringing him back for the chapter finale is a slam dunk for Epic. Especially right now, when the entire Marvel machine is spinning around this exact guy in the mask. But here's a fact that'll make any lore nerd's eyes start twitching. Remember the Zero War comics? Well, in those, Dr. Doom wasn't flying solo. He was hitched to the Imagine Order, and to its founder personally, meaning our big bad Geno. Doom worked his way into the Order's inner circle and went chasing a 0-point shard all over the universe. Now connect the dots. Geno just came back. He's pulling the strings on the whole squad, and he's rebuilding the epicenter. And if we think back to how Chapter 5 ended, we never actually got rid of Dr. Doom. The Rift just booted him off somewhere into some other reality. So now it's totally possible that if Geno's planning to rebuild his order, he can call his old partner back in, and that's how Doom makes his return to the game once again. For now, that's probably the one theory that actually makes sense. But if you've got your own idea for exactly how Doom could come back, drop it in the comments. Here's my theory. If Geno really cut a deal with the last reality, then he desperately needs some heavy artillery. And who fits that puzzle piece better than Doom? For the last reality that's straight up the jackpot, landing the two most dangerous manipulators in the Omniverse on the same team. There's no way we digest an alliance like that on our own. Another tasty hint is hiding right there in the art from those same comics. On the covers, the Foundation is going toe-to-toe with Doom, one-on-one. And that, folks, is a ready-made idea for a whole mini-season. The Rock just so happens to have dropped off the radar, but we know he's alive and about to come back. And that can be a direct callback to the comics, only now live and in the engine. Epic lives for pulling tricks like that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, this is all rumor and leak level stuff, so take it with a grain of salt. Officially, Epic is going to keep its mouth shut till the very last second, same as always. And still, way too many threads are pointing at the same spot. Doomsday in theaters, Doom in the files, Geno on the island, and his old friendship with the Iron Mask from the comics. For a plain collab over a couple skins, that's a little too much meat on the bone, don't you think? So if a Marvel mini-season really does land, get ready for the Chapter 7 finale to be built around Doom and his shady little dealings with Geno. And exactly how Epic ties the movie's Doomsday into our lore, and who ends up stabbing who in the back, we'll break all of that down. But right now, most of you are probably wondering what's gonna happen to the 0 point and all those sprites we've been collecting. And they're gonna disappear real soon. And unfortunately, this isn't a theory, it's just what's happening in the story. So I'm gonna explain to you why these creatures exist and why they'll stop showing up on our island. For starters, sprites like the water one and the air one were already around on the previous island back in Chapter 6, and they popped up once the 0 point fragment landed on that island. Even so, it was never really clear why they'd been created or what the connection was between them and the 0 point. But later on, in Chapter 7 Season 2, we saw in one of the first trailers how another fragment was sitting in a world near the water sprite. And then right after the finale event of that same season, we watched the 0 Point come back together. And since it was completely unstable, it generated a new island, along with the birth of thousands of other sprites. That makes it pretty clear that the 0 Point is the one creating them. So they're basically its kids, so to speak. And that would also explain why we've got designs like the Foundation one, since unlike the others, it's not a force of nature, if you want to put it that way. In his specific case, he was inside the 0 Point, so this sphere could crank out millions of sprite of any kind, because it's been in contact with every character and universe you can imagine, whether through its rift portals or in direct contact with it, like what happened to the Rock. And that's great news, but even though it looks like we'll be seeing the end of the sprite soon, that could change for a few reasons, and this would be the first one. So now, we come back to the explanation of why they're gonna disappear. To control the 0 Point, Dr. Sloan is building a collider, and the energy she needs to fire it up and get that 0 Point under control is to use its kids. So every single time we go capture and extract a sprite, it's not just to force them to hand us an extra power in a match. At the end of the day, we're using them as fuel. Which makes it pretty clear that this will be the end of the sprites, and the move into the next season with a new mechanic. You already know Spidey basically lives in this game at this point, but it looks like he's about to swing back in with something fresh. According to leaks, more Spider-Man content is coming this season, and so far, the confirmed part is the web shooter returning to Power Hours, which honestly is already a W on its own, because those things were so much fun last time. But the bigger deal is what's rumored to come with it. A Brand New Day collab is officially coming next month, and that's the part I'm hyped about, because this isn't just another recolor of a suit we've already got 6 times over. Brand New Day is the new movie hitting theaters July 31st, and it's got Spidey wearing a brand new suit based on some classic comic designs. This is the version I really want in the game, because it's rocking brighter red and blue tones with a bigger spider symbol slapped across the chest. So it's that clean comic accurate look, instead of the high-tech Stark stuff we usually get. If Epic actually nails this one, it'd easily stand out from the older Spideys in the locker. And the cherry on top is the rest of the cast this movie's packing, because there are a bunch of characters that have never gotten skins. Villains like Boomerang and Scorpion still don't have one, and there's a ton of demand for the Punisher since John Bernthal's Frank Castle has never made it into Fortnite either. So if this collab goes big, we could be looking at way more than just the suit. Nothing's locked in stone past the gloves yet, so take the rest as leaks for now. But with the movie dropping at the end of July, the timing lines up perfectly, and I'd bet we hear something official real soon. But also because of when it's dropping. We'll probably head into this season off the back of a finale event. I've got no clue what it'll look like, but my gut says it's gonna have something to do with the 0 Point, which is basically off the rails right now. So the new island fusing different game worlds together will most likely show up the same way this current season did. And that event won't even be the last one, because the one that actually closes out the chapter is gonna be one of those mega events, which are hands down the best ones in Fortnite. This time, it'll land somewhere between November 28th and December 5th. And with the whole video game season sitting in between, we could be looking at a total before and after moment for Fortnite heading into Chapter 8. If they don't just straight up call it Fortnite 2 or something, I'm not gonna dig into that theory right now, because we're jumping straight into the list of possibilities for this season's historic roster. And luckily, we've already got a ton of collabs leaked. Keep in mind, some of these came from an Epic employee who's actually facing charges right now for leaking all this. We'll start with the safest bet, which is Kingdom Hearts. And not just because it's Disney property, since we already know how tight Fortnite and Disney are. But the real kicker is that there are already items sitting in the game right now, specifically tied to Rocket League. But like, you know, that's basically Fortnite 2, so yeah, Kingdom Hearts is probably coming this season if it doesn't drop even sooner. As for what it brings, if it's one of those collabs that shows up in the pass, we could get Destiny Islands as a location, and for a weapon, obviously Sora's Keyblade. Next up is Mega Man, one of the most recent leaks. The big question here is which design they're gonna go with. What I'm way more confident about is the item it could bring, since his arm cannon has to be in this season, no question. And for a location, I think the most iconic pick would be Dr. Wily's castle. Then we've got one of the biggest, if not the biggest, which is Minecraft. Obviously the skin would be Steve, and what it brings to the island is clearly that blocky cube look. Honestly, I wouldn't even rule out the whole island rocking that style. like the trees, the water, all of it, with the other collab zones getting their own designs. After that, we've got Crash Bandicoot. The skin's a no-brainer, and what it could add to the gameplay would be his classic crates. As for a zone, I really have no idea what it'd bring. Then another big one would be Persona, and honestly I'm not sure which character we'd get. I'm guessing Joker based on popularity, but they've got a pretty deep bench to pull from. As for an iconic island location, I've got no clue what they'd add, and same goes for weapons. Then there's another collab, which is Beyblade. Here we're back to a massive pool of characters and possibilities. For locations, I'm picturing a Beyblade stadium, and obviously the weapon would be the spinning top with the launcher, which I think would be a genuinely great idea since Fortnite could do a lot with that concept. Moving on to the next one, we're talking Yakuza. And if I'm not mistaken, I've been talking about this one for 2 years because it's been leaked forever. The first thing that comes to mind is the game's locations with that Japanese vibe. And for skins, I'm guessing they'd go with Kiryu, Majima, or Ichiban. There's also been talk of a second wave of Metal Gear, and here the loot situation is easy. Because just like in Chapter 5, they dropped the cardboard box, and luckily the actual weapons are the same ones Fortnite already has. The classic pistols and the suppressed ones are usually always in the game, and this season would have them if this collab gets confirmed. Actually, the next collab that also makes sense to have that weapon would be James Bond. This one's like Yakuza, where we've been talking about it hitting Fortnite for months and months. And honestly, it catches nobody off guard, since Rocket League already has a bunch of Bond vehicles that would obviously come to Fortnite the same day the skin gets confirmed. As for the character, I'm not totally sure which one they'd go with, but since we got a new game this year, they could adapt that version. And the last collab that's leaked but not confirmed, which brings us to the next batch, would be Silent Hill. The location's a lock, since it'd be Silent Hill itself. As for the character, it's pretty tough to guess because there are several games, each with a different protagonist. Now we've got to remember the 4 collabs confirmed with the Epic Games Store, though I'd say all of these drop before October. But if not, we've got the Sonic collab, specifically his racing game, though what we're all hoping lands in Fortnite is the skin. And if that character does show up for the next season, I'm pretty confident the item it'd add would be something that gives you speed to rotate around the island. The one I'm not so sure would get talked about is Godzilla, since they've got a game coming this month too. And this collab is already in Fortnite, so it could be a good moment to add more characters and even bring back the Chapter 6 Battle Pass skin, since that recently happened with the Marvel ones. After those, all that's left is the remix ones, Godzilla and the Crew's Turn. So timing-wise, it lines up pretty well for this collab to land right in November. And the last big game I could find dropping in November would be Crimelight, which honestly I'd never heard of before, so I have no idea what it's gonna be or even which characters they could add.